This week on Safe Harbour, I'm sitting down with two blokes who have been where most of us have been, using alcohol to cope, to connect, or even just get through the week, and who have come out the other side with their eyes wide open and their lives back. Ben and Rich are the hosts of Rich and Ben, the Sober Men podcast, and between them they've got almost 9 years of sobriety. But this isn't a sobriety lecture. I want to be really clear about that. This is a curious conversation about our relationship with alcohol and what it costs us, what we tell ourselves about it, the stories we carry around, the way we've grown up around beer and alcohol, how it makes us feel, how it affects us, and whether we're curious enough to try sobriety out for 1 day, 1 year, maybe forever, who knows? So if you've got a curiosity around your relationship with alcohol, then this podcast is going to be for you. I haven't edited 1 minute out of this entire episode. It's so rich. We cover so many corners. So go and put the kettle on, get yourself comfortable, and enjoy this week's episode of Safe Harbour. So here we are. I noticed I'm doing my "so here we are" voice.
It works.
You can't help it. It's like podcast voice. So welcome to Safe Harbour with me and Ben and Rich. Oh, I noticed again. I noticed I get excited when I get guests on.
Mm.
How are you feeling today?
We're feeling good.
The run up to a bank holiday.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm feeling good, guys. Jamie, firstly, thanks for having us on. It's great to be with you. I'm super happy because I'm originally from Birmingham, Jamie, so I'm a big Villa fan. And last night it was we won the Europa League, so I'm very happy. On top of that, I've had my little morning stroll. I've had my morning coffee. The villains are flying. A bum, bum, bum. I'm a happy sausage.
I hear about this on the radio. We were just saying, I listen to Chris Evans' breakfast show most mornings because he's just so upbeat, and he too is sober, right? Because you guys are here to talk about sobriety and sober curiousness and all of that rich stuff, which I'm really excited to dive into. So he stopped drinking, and he's full of beans as it is, isn't he, Chris Evans?
Yeah.
He's got so much positive, cup half full, and the guests he has on, they're all writing books about how to live a best life and all that. So anyway, he talks about football a lot. He's a Liverpool fan. I don't follow football on that level of having my own team. I never have. I love playing it, and I support my local team here. But they've been talking about the Premiership, and so Arsenal have won the league. Is that right?
That is correct.
Yes.
Yeah, the Gooners are there. And Rich, are you going to mention your side this year?
Well, unfortunately, yes. My side. So I'm an Oxford United fan, and we got relegated from the Championship.
Oh, mate.
So it wasn't good. But I mean, I have a lot of friends that that support Premier League teams, and so no one in my sort of friendship group, in that WhatsApp group, supports Arsenal. So in the Premier League, I'll tend to follow Arsenal just for balance on the group, right?
Right.
So and literally they all hate Arsenal. There's Tottenham fans, there's Liverpool fans that they hate Arsenal. And I kept quiet on that group about Arsenal all season. And then what I'm going to do now is just put a picture of the Premier League trophy. That's all I need to do. I don't need to say anything. But yeah, it's quite fun. And it was it's good because I remember like obviously going like especially on like a Super Sunday, and going to watch like sort of 3 games back to back in the pub, like, you know, before I got sober. And it was just, I probably got halfway through the first game and probably don't remember the next half, and then the next game after that, and the next game after that. And it's, fortunately this year, every Oxford United game I've been fully present for. Unfortunately, it was a negative, it was a negative outcome at the end. But hey, listen, there's always next season. We'll get back there.
At least you can remember them. At least you can remember the games now.
Rich is spot on there, Jamie. It's funny, we've just got rid of our Sky Sports package because it was extortion, and really I wasn't watching too many games to justify it. So I've returned to the pub to watch, a big game, and it's unbelievable. Watching football sober in a pub, I can see me 3 years ago in a lot of the guys there just enjoying the first 20, 30 minutes, the first half, and slowly out come more beers. And they're not going to remember, they're not really going to care for the second half. And to enjoy that experience, to enjoy the game, to appreciate the tactics. And it's the same with a lot of events, I think. It's certainly like concerts, theatre. My main worry was, where could I get my first beer? How ridiculous, these wonderful potential experiences. And all I was worried about was essentially getting bloody pissed. So going to the pub sober, it's bonkers. And what you mentioned there, yes, it is bank holiday, but in my sobriety, you kind of forget, because it used to be a 4-day excuse to get pissed as well. And not to have that even in, my 6 GCSE grey matter. That's why I'm smiling already, because it's bloody great.
Yeah, I mean, bank holidays are notorious. I've been up to London a couple of times to see my mate Phil, who used to be the co-host, and that's how Safe Harbour came to be. Phil, my mate Phil, great mate. Best mate, let's say he's my best mate.
Yeah.
He is my best mate. So I go up to London sometimes, and South Bank, he lives near the South Bank, so we go there, and it is just a sea of drinking, literally.
Yeah.
Bar after bar after bar of £7 a pint.
Yeah.
And that's all it seems to be. Boozing.
It is true. And the thing is, I think it would be fair to say as well, Ben, I mean, to tell me if you agree with me, is that we don't now. We're sort of, I'm almost 5.5 years sober. Ben's just over 3 years sober. We don't sit around and condemn those people for sitting outside the pub and getting pissed up on a weekend. Like we're not like, oh, we're so much better than you. It's just that we got to a point where that was really not serving us anymore in all facets of our life, our relationships, our friendships, like all work, all that kind of stuff. And it got to, don't get me wrong, I had absolutely brilliant times in the 90s and the noughties, right up to sort of the last sort of 5 years, before 5 years, just over 5 years ago when I got sober. I had the best times, but I didn't know where the off switch was. That was the problem. So it was progressive, and it got worse and it got worse until the point where it wasn't like, hey, bank holiday, have a few beers, have some fun, and then come Tuesday the following week, okay, right, I'm back in the room kind of thing, and I'm okay. I wasn't a normal drinker, I would like burn the candle, like literally till there was no candle left. It wasn't even both ends. It was like, right, I've burnt that candle, give me another candle and I'll burn that one as well, so it wasn't, it's not that we're now sort of pointing fingers and being all sanctimonious and stuff. It's more to do with to make that change and to to get sober was better, because it was destructive to my, I was having an existential crisis, to be honest, and it wouldn't have ended badly had we not made that decision.
Yeah.
And Rich mentions those drinkers, and I look at them, and maybe there is a little hint of jealousy still that, they can enjoy their pints, but I guarantee probably 95% of them will wake up with that anxiety, that awful feeling of like, oh, I've got to trudge through the day, trudge through the week. And that good for them that they can get through that. But unfortunately, like Rich, I just couldn't. I just couldn't. I thought I could. And that was quite a big thing to deal with, Jamie, initially. I don't know if you agree, Rich, but dealing with the fact that, I'm not that normal a guy. I'm not a normal drinker, that this is actually beginning to cripple me. The older I get, the more responsibility I get in my life, the more I want to succeed, but I know that deep down I'm struggling. That was quite a hard thing to overcome, that I'm not the guy who can go to the pub, have 4 or 5 pints and shake off a hangover via a bacon butty the next morning, that feeling would just stay in me for days, Jamie. And that was kind of the beginning of, I'm in trouble here.
Yeah. And I'm sure a lot of people, well, me too, I'm listening to that going, yeah, me too. And a lot of people listening to this podcast today will be also nodding, listening to this on their way to work or whatever. And I want today, I guess, before we dive in, I guess I want to frame today's conversation around having a curious conversation. This is a curious conversation. I said that in my little TikTok post around, this is not a preachy conversation or look at us, we don't drink anymore, because I took a year off and I had that experience. But I really want today to be a curious conversation for anybody to be listening in. I know you guys have your own podcast and we'll come on to that. I would love it to be a curious conversation. This is not a listen to this and this will help me stop drinking podcast. This is a let's be open and curious about our relationship with our drinking or people around us that drink, because men might be listening to this and their wives might be drinking too much or whatever. This is not necessarily all about men, although this is a men's podcast, and that's going to be the first foremost part of today's conversation. But I'd love it to just be curious and open from the outset. So if you're just tuning in and listening to this, sit back, grab yourself a shandy, a cup of tea even, and stay open. stay open to the conversation. Notice those parts of you, because there will be parts of me that's going to get triggered today. Get curious about those parts of you that are coming up going, yeah, maybe I do drink a bit too much, or maybe I would like to shift my relationship with alcohol. Just get super curious about those little voices, those little shame voices that maybe pop up through the conversation today. Just want to frame it because I think it's important.
Yeah, and that's what that's kind of exactly what you said there on our podcast. We talk about exactly that. It's for conversations like this are for people that may be drinking, people that might not be drinking, people that might be curious about what that might be like to stop drinking and just what that looks like, and not make it such a huge big, because it is it can be a life changing decision to make, but if you're sort of so frightened of it and you're so kind of tense about this everything's going to change, my relationships with everyone is going to change, and if I did that, what does that look like? Oh, I'm scared, I'm not going to do it. It's almost making it an accessible avenue to go, hey, listen, maybe just try it, see how you feel. If you feel better, that's got to be positive, right? Give it a day, give it a week, whatever. That's kind of how we try to approach talking about sobriety ourselves.
Yeah, because it's a sticky topic, isn't it? It's a grey area. It's like I did a podcast with two women about anger last week, two female coaches about anger. It's like these are anger and alcohol and sobriety. They're like hot potatoes for a lot of us men. We're all in denial. And at some point, like I'm not a drinker, or I don't get angry, or whatever it is, and we suppress it and we push it down. Don't like to talk about it, which is these are the conversations I want to have on Safe Harbour. The conversations that we all turn away from and deny that we're not part of. Let's turn towards it. And when I'm working with my clients, I go, if it feels uncomfortable, that's where we go. If it feels uncomfortable, let's shine a light on that, because that's where the gold is.
Jamie, it's a big hot potato subject filled with cheese and beans, chili con carne, you name it. You name your favorite jacket spud filling. For years, when I knew I had a problem, these conversations would have helped me so much. Your podcast would have helped me. So many other people online, on social media. Those conversations are great because you realize it's not just you, that increasingly the landscape is changing. There is support there. And when I was struggling, when I saw how Rich's life was progressing in his sobriety, a good mate, I knew I had to talk to somebody. Who do I talk to? I got a great group of mates. I actually didn't feel like I could talk to my mates about it. And the biggest fear was saying to my loved ones, to my family, God, I'm in trouble here. Like, on the outset, life's all right. I'm holding down a job. Happy-go-lucky Ben on the outset. But deep down, Jamie, the number of mornings I woke up just saying to myself, driving into work, Ben, you just got to break the cycle. You've just done it again. This isn't you. You're becoming a million miles away from the guy that you're meant to be. And so these conversations are huge, and just getting it out of your head. Remember, we had a chat, didn't we, Rich? I was like, Rich, I'm struggling here. I'm really struggling. I need some help. And as soon as you just prick that concrete fear of admitting, like, I might have to think about this, I might have to address it, as Rich said, Jamie, just give it a go, a week, 2 weeks, and slowly start to feel those beautiful benefits. But it's that initial leap into, or fear of, I don't want other people, because it is like a sordid thing. Like, oh, you've got a drink problem. Like, oh, you're a pisshead. No, I'm not. My life's effing tough. As a middle-aged bloke, my life is tough. I've got all these responsibilities. I just need some help.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. And I had a similar situation as well. And I think it can be really difficult for guys. We're living in an age now with podcasts such as Safe Harbour and the multitude of sort of therapy podcasts and all kinds of stuff where people are encouraged to talk. I think there's still a world where there's a certain demographic of men that are getting forgotten about. Do you know what I mean? Like myself and Ben come from the creative world where everyone's heart on your sleeve. It's all very dramatic. Actors and singers, very dramatic, and everyone's like all very melodramatic. And if you say work, I don't know, if you work on a building site, or you work, a blue collar job, or whatever that might be, where you don't necessarily have the people around you that you can talk to, and perhaps your friendship group is probably based around going to the pub sort of weekends, that's your kind of downtime, and you just kind of go out and get smashed to pieces kind of stuff. But you are struggling with feeling that you might need to rein it in or stop completely. Sometimes those groups of friends are, as Ben said, it's difficult to say to a friend, I'm struggling, because maybe that friend might be struggling as well, or maybe that friend's not able to kind of like open up and talk emotionally about how they're feeling or whatever. And I think that what's important is to try to find maybe that sort of one person that you can trust, that you can say, I'm having an issue here. Any advice, or can I just tell you about it? And I think podcasts and YouTube channels, all that kind of stuff, if those kind of people that are struggling like that are seeing that regularly, and they're seeing, well, these guys are saying, talk to someone about it. Oh, I feel uncomfortable talking about it, but everyone seems to be saying, talk about it. Hopefully, eventually, someone opens their mouth and says, I'm struggling, please help me. Because that's all you need, is that one sentence, I'm struggling, please help me. And then there will be someone that can. But it is important, these platforms, because it does encourage people to communicate with each other. And it might take, listen, it's hard, it might not be within 24 hours you're ready to chat to someone, but it might take you a few weeks, a few months, a year to build up that courage to say, I'm struggling, even if it's maybe to your wife, or to a partner, or to a mother or a father, whatever. If you can just find that strength, because what comes after that is pretty special, and myself and Ben are a testament to that. And that was our experience, really. But it was tricky, because you don't want to admit to yourself more than anything, because you then are admitting that something has got the better of you, and you're not in control of something controls you, and that's what's difficult.
Yeah.
And you'll be amazed as well when you've made that initial leap into sharing a problem with a friend, with a loved one, Jamie. You will be amazed the amount of support and love, and it reconfirms, like, people are there for you. If you're struggling, people are there for you. Your mates are there for you, and you'll be amazed how people are accepting, and also the intrigue that you might trigger in them. Like, oh, hang on, you stopped drinking. You're feeling good. Fuck, you're looking all right, aren't you? And that's great as well. Through your courage of initially saying, I need a bit of help, you're then in turn helping somebody else. You're opening the conversation. As creatives, Jamie, Rich and I, we've worked in all sorts of places. We've both worked on building sites. I've worked in the sales world. I drive a delivery van between acting jobs, and you'll be amazed that people are really accepting. Men are, we're supportive souls, We don't have to be like, all right, go here, let's have a pint of Carling, let's watch a footy. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's like, we do like a chat. And
they're always cockneys, aren't they, those blokes?
Yeah. No, that was my scars. Oh no, I better work on my accent. That's why I haven't worked much as an actor, Jamie.
Yeah, that's why you're not getting any work.
Yeah. But anyway, Cockney Dave, let's call him Cockney Dave, can be as supportive as your mum, your wife, and there's a lot of support there. And it is just as Rich says, just if you can, just get it out there, and immediately you'll feel lighter.
Well, it's like a trust fall. I see a metaphor of like a trust fall, falling backwards and not knowing if anyone's going to catch me, to own up and go, well, to own up to myself and go, yeah, I should probably curb this a bit, but then not knowing who to talk to, because there's so much shame tied up.
Yeah.
Shame is huge around any level of addiction, whether it's pornography or whether it's drinking or taking drugs or whatever it is. It's like, well, that's not me. I'm going to hide that and keep that private, and I don't want anyone to know about it. What was your experience of coming out almost and saying, okay, I'm going to name this publicly. I am drinking too much and I'm going to stop. What was your experience, Rich?
Well, it was progressive, as alcoholism and any addiction is. It's a disease of addiction is progressive, and you don't start off sort of under a bridge with a needle in your arm. Do you know what I mean? That's not where you
Yeah.
start. But if the pattern continues and you don't look after yourself and you don't seek that help, that is easily where you can end up, right? So it was, for me, I got to a point where probably the last 10 years of my active addiction up until when I got sober, it was by the year was getting progressively worse, and I just wasn't able to stop. Which I knew that I got to a point where I knew that there was something that needed to be addressed, but I didn't want to address that. Because it sounds kind of a contradiction in terms, but I was still enjoying being able to do what I wanted to do. But the fallout of that, like catastrophic relationships, not being able to function properly day to day, just literally just getting through the day, then just getting back to the night again where I could continue to do what I'm doing. I got to a point where it was actually lockdown, actually. And that's the worst place for an addict to be, alone in a house where you can't go out, right? And it got to a point where I was so miserable and I was so sad, and I'd fallen out with my family. I'd broken up with a partner at the time. I'd lost my job because of COVID. I'd lost my flat, so I'd moved into a back bedroom of someone's flat in North London, and I would sit there in that back room, and I thought, I've got nothing left, and I've also got this massive problem that I can't stop drinking and using. And I got to a point where I didn't want to be here, and I had an iPad out. And because I wasn't speaking to my family, I stopped answering the phone to my friends. I got to a point where I thought, I'm so miserable, I'm so sad. It would be better if I'm not here, for everyone and for me, because I couldn't cope anymore. And I was trying to leave like a message on an iPad rather than write a note. I've decided to end this. I was trying to leave a message on an iPad because I thought, if in my warped mind at that point, I was so foggy and so hazy. I thought, if people can see how bad it is or how bad I feel, maybe they'll understand it and they won't be so sad or upset. It was really warped thinking. I couldn't get through it. I was crying and it was awful. And I watched it back, like, once I'd got sober, and I thought, that's a man who's really struggling there. But I couldn't. I was pushing everyone away. And then what happened is, a friend of mine asked me outright on the phone. We spoke on the phone. I want to help you, but I need to know what I'm helping you with. Are you drinking? Are you using? What are you? I was like, no, I'm fine. I'm just sad. I'm just having a shit time. It's COVID. And then I lied to him, and then he found out that I was lying to him, and we had a massive, massive row. And I was like, I don't care what you're saying, but that almost clicked me into gear, because the next day I woke up and I thought, I want to beat this. I don't want to feel like this anymore. And I felt so guilty that I'd let my friend down, more so than actually let myself down at that point. I've lied to him. He wants to help me. I've woken up, probably only had 2 or 3 hours sleep, whatever, looking like shit, like feeling like shit, because I've been behaving that way for weeks and months leading up to that, and then like 10, 20 years before that, progressively getting worse. And I said, I'm going to get better. I want to make this work. So I phoned another friend of mine that I knew was in one of the fellowship programs. And I said, I need some help, mate. I literally just going back to what we were just saying, I said, I need some help. What do I do? What do I do? And he said, there's a meeting on Zoom tonight. Why don't you come? And I was like, oh, a meeting. Oh, I've done them before. Oh, no, I'm not. He said, just come and sit there. It's on a Zoom. We couldn't go into physical meetings because it was in lockdown. And I sat there and I thought, well, okay, well, I'll give it a go. I don't know how else I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing. And I sat there, and within 20 minutes, I text him, I want what these people have got, because the meeting, it was so invigorating and positive, and there was a lot of people that I identified with going through the same thing as I was going through at the time. But in my head, as an addict, you think what you're going through is worse than anybody else. Like, it's all about me. No one understands. It's like, this is terrible. Like, no one understands what I'm going through. No one's ever had this before. But there was people that were people that were there. It's true. There were people that were worse than me. There were people that the same as me, people that weren't as bad as me. And I'm like, suddenly saw this community of very, very normal people. It wasn't preachy. It wasn't, it wasn't religious. It was just people going, hey guys, this is what I was like. This is a few of my war stories. I'm like, shit, that was me. But they come out of it. And there was like prison stories, people losing their kids in care, and they've got their lives back. And they were looking at effervescent. And this is a time when it was a miserable time for everyone, because it was lockdown as well, right? So everyone was kind of like going, well, what does the world look like? But these people were still there going, but we're not drinking, we're not taking drugs, and we're positive, and we can have this community. And there was like 120 people on this meeting, because all the addicts in that area were going, right, we got to hold on to this community whilst we're going through this time where we can't see each other, because the opposite of addiction is connection. You got to talk to people. And the next day I said to my friend phoned me and he said, right, you sure you want to do this? Are you ready? And I thought, I was at my wit's end. I was like, there's two ways this is going to go. I'm going to get better, or I'm going to end up in a box. And at that point, I didn't want to end up in a box, even though leading up to that, I thought that's actually where I want to be. But I was kind of too afraid. I was scared. I was too afraid. I didn't want to live, but I was too afraid to die, kind of thing. It was a real juxtaposition. And then he got me a sponsor, and then I started the 12 steps. And literally within 2 weeks, I started to clear my brain of the fog, and I could start seeing clearer again. And then within a month passed, 3 months passed, 6 months. And then I moved out of London. I moved back into Oxfordshire. I got a job on a building site. That was great. Outside work, like in the fresh air. I mean, it was freezing cold. It was March when I started, but it was so good for me to have structure and to have discipline, and then literally week by week, a day at a time, as we say. Yeah, that was how my sobriety journey started. And the best thing, it's been the best thing I've ever done. Like, I've had great successes in my life, a lot of tragedy, but that is without question the most important decision that I ever made. And I was helped by the people that helped me in that particular fellowship, and also my friends. I thank my friend that I had an argument with, because without that argument, I might not have got there. And I also thank my friend that took me to that meeting on Zoom. And it's accessible and it's available. Should people want it,
Well, that's a great story, man. Thank you. I noticed I was getting a bit emotional at points, and Ben just grinning from ear to ear at the.
Well, it's what it is. I'm so proud of Rich, Jamie.
Yeah.
I can't help but smile. I'm so proud of him. He offers me, our podcast, everybody he comes into contact with, so much positivity. And I'm just proud of him. And I literally just then I was thinking, if you are a guy listening and you're worried what your friends might think, if they're good friends, I promise you, they'll be so proud of you. Like, Rich, I'm proud of you. But just hearing that story again, it just completely confirms that it's doable. And that's what I've found, Jamie, seeing Richard's early sobriety. I was like, knowing that increasingly my issues were getting worse and worse, just seeing Rich kind of glow aesthetically. Look, I mean, he's a handsome bugger anyway. He's like Oxfordshire's Danny Zuko. But it's kind of like to see him flourish aesthetically in his career and his confidence build again. You can't help but being enthused by that.
Yeah, beautiful. He does actually look a bit like me with hair, doesn't he?
Because we're side by side. At birth. Jamie, talking of hair, so the catalyst for my my sobriety. I'm just going to jump in there. What the hell?
Yeah, go for it. Where's the hair link going to come from?
You're going to like this. You'll like this one.
So I had a hair transplant I was
Right.
like, okay, let's go for it, especially in the creative world. I need, it's a good confidence boost. And it does lead to, it's kind of, no, it's true. Like, it does give you more opportunities. I think as a certain middle-aged guy going for castings that Rich and I go for castings for, that's a whole other story. Some of the stuff we've had to do. My
Unless
God.
you want to be one of the Mitchell brothers
That's right.
in EastEnders.
I'll take it. I'll take it. But yeah, so when I went in for this consultation, Jamie, with the hair surgeon, he was like, lovely chap. He said, oh, and just so you know, you have to stop alcohol for 4 weeks because it thins the blood when the new hair is taking.
Wow.
And immediately I was like, what? Ooh.
Say that again?
I was like, ooh, eh? It's my birthday in 4 weeks. I was like, well, that's just not going to happen. It's my birthday. I had Ben's bar, 6 to 7, couple of cheeky Marlboro Lights with some lukewarm Fosters. Before I even get on the train, have a train beer, get to the restaurant, get pissed. That's birthdays. That was my birthday for years. And I was like, God, hang on. But it's my wife actually who said, you won't drink again. She knew, she could see just how crippling, disabling alcohol was becoming within me. She knew me inside out. She could see that it was just holding back all the good I had to offer in my life, my family, my career, my work. So in contrast to Rich's kind of route into sobriety, mine was just like, okay, I've done like 5 days. I was like, don't really miss a beer. Oh my God, look at my sleep. Hang on, I'm waking up feeling like I've got energy. Like, this is like Ben circa 1984, before I had that first pint with my mate, This is how I used to feel. The anxiety that had grown over sort of 3-4 years through various life events, that was starting to dissipate. And even if the day was tough, I had the energy and the clarity to kind of deal with issues like in my private life, at work, which are always going to happen, even in sobriety. And I was like, I'm starting to feel great. And maybe starting to feel good was like a new addiction for me. And I think the first time I posted, so it was like 50 days in, I was working at the cricket. I could feel my performance at work just completely grow, get better. I was more affable. I was making more connections. That was the irony, that through sobriety, I was making better connections socially, which was leading to more work.
Wow.
And aesthetically, the eyes were pinging. I just felt better. I felt my old self. I felt like the Ben that I hadn't felt for, watch my swearing, but for years. And so it was a very different route into Rich, but the kind of anchors that we both found was like the clarity, the sleep, the anxiety dissipating, and just getting that self-pride back. That was, I think, a huge thing for me, just feeling like, you know what, I'm doing all right again. Like life's going to be okay. So very interesting, really, Rich, wasn't it? The different routes we both took
sounds
into
like
it.
a coming home, like a coming home to yourself.
Yeah.
Like you said about the circa 1989 version of yourself, because that's what it is, isn't it? We're like this. We all come into this world like little babies, completely unscathed. And then physically and emotionally, we get damaged by little things and we pick up traits and we go, right, snip that off. I won't do that anymore. That's not accepting. And snip this off. And then all of a sudden we become this sort of straitjacket version of ourselves that we think is appropriate, that other people will accept us. And I wonder if drinking is part of that as well, because a lot of guys will be thinking, well, I need drink to socialize and I need it because it gives me these things. Alcohol or beer or whatever you want to call it gives me this thing. And then at some point, what I'm hearing you guys say is it got to the point where it wasn't giving me, it was taking away from me more than it was giving.
Yeah.
That's
Well, I remember
exactly it.
working at the cricket, very like the theatre world that Rich and I are both in. The sporting world's really sociable. You're invited out for drinks from sponsors, with colleagues after a day. I work a lot at the cricket, Jamie. So after a day's play, it's like, where we're having dinner tonight. And, somebody will order a round of beers before you've even said, oh, actually, I'm fine. I don't drink, and wonderful people in that circuit. Increasingly, over 2 seasons, I'd skip the kind of team dinner. And I'd find my little newsagent on the corner by the hotel, by the Holiday Inn Express, get those dusty carlings off the shelf next to the scampi fries, have my little carrier bag, and just go and sit in my hotel room, just drinking for lukewarm beers. Like, why getting nothing from it, and then waking up with the shame, not the shame, but just the anxiety of like, God, like I've done that again. Ben, just change your habits. So then when I did become sober, I was like, why have I not done this before? Why did it take? And I was a bit annoyed with myself, actually. Why did it take a hair transplant for me to force me to stop for those 4 weeks? That's why I've huge respect for Rich and people who just have the courage to say, right, I'm going to do it. But socially, I found that my experiences were better. I was enjoying work more. My connections with colleagues were great because I was like my authentic self, which is a bit of a goon, bit of a Brummie-based big bird. But that was me, and my confidence came back, and it led to more opportunities, to more offers of work, because ultimately one hopes, I mean, Rich might not agree, but people kind of quite like to be around somebody who has got a little spark of positivity, who tries to bring a smile into the workplace, who just has empathy if a colleague or somebody close to you is just having a bit of a struggle. And without doubt, getting sober, as Rich said, it's something like Rich and I have achieved a lot. We've been dicking about on stage for a year and for years in some beautiful theatres. But getting sober, becoming my old self again, it feels, I'm so proud of myself. And I think it could be a British thing that a lot of blokes might not want to say I'm proud of myself, but who says you can't say that? It's bloody great to be proud of yourself. It gives you a great start to every day to say, yeah, I've made some changes here. I'm doing all right, and I know my family are going to be bloody proud of me as well.
It's true, and that also ties in with Ben's story. The fact that we were talking about, like, men actually talking and saying they need to do something about, an issue that they're struggling with, like drinking. Me and Ben, we've known each other for quite a few years, off and on, through friends and through sort of industry. Like, oh, hello, mate, yeah. And then we first became friends properly. We worked on a cruise ship years ago together. Now, on that cruise ship, what do you do when you're not working? You're literally in the crew bar. You're just getting hammered. And we had some fantastic times getting hammered, right? It was brilliant. But the thing is, that's kind of what bonded us. And it's true what you said. It's kind of like, that's how we relax. That's how we kind of interacted, because it gives us the confidence. Because perhaps it might be fair to say, maybe it's a question for this sort of the open forum, really, is that as men, are we shy? Are we shy as a species? Do we need something to be able to relax us, to be able to, like, what we think at that time is be our authentic selves, but actually it's not. It's kind of like an exaggerated version because we've been lubricated by alcohol or drugs or whatever. But me and Ben, that's how we first connected, really, which is so ironic considering we now do, the podcast about being sober. But I didn't know that Ben was struggling so much. Like, I didn't know, because Ben's always been a very effervescent, kind of magnetic character, and everyone's drawn to him. He's funny and stuff, but it's almost like, again, I don't want to speak for Ben, but it's almost like tears of a clown, really, because he's so funny and charismatic on the outside, but obviously was struggling, deeply within himself. And it wasn't until he said, "I've seen you get sober. I'm doing I'm going on the same journey." And then it wasn't, over the next 3 years, we discussed it at length. And I said, I had no idea. We actually talked about it on an episode, actually. I had no idea that he was struggling this much with going through what he was going through. Because as men, we had to be stoic, and we had to just be strong, and we didn't want to show vulnerability because that makes us feel humiliated. And you said it earlier on, Jamie, shame and embarrassment and beholding to something we're not in control of.
Yeah.
But I mean, as Ben just said, once you say it out loud and you take the power out of it, it doesn't control you like you think it was controlling you, and that's what Ben did. And he often has shared on his Instagram and also on the podcast Instagram, there's like 2 pictures of him before and after. It's the difference is incredible. Like, literally, obviously we know that mentally alcohol is disruptive to you. And we, as I said, we weren't normal drinkers where we could have one or two and you flush it out, you might be okay, who knows. But it was like damaging physically, mentally. And if you see these two pictures of Ben, he looked, Ben, prepare to say you looked okay. Right, but you said yourself, you were puffy in the face, and you were just you said yourself you looked like Grey Ben.
I was the Grim Reaper for sure.
But then you see this other picture after the sobriety, after the water, he's like a model. He looked like a model with the chiseled jaw and the new hair, and he's like, but you effervesce a new confidence. And in those photos, Ben had like some photos taken. He just looks like a confident guy, and you look in its kind of the charisma that even through the camera of the photo, he looked fantastic. And it's never. I think that's important, and that would be something that I would suggest to other people. Take a photo of how you are before, and then take another photo.
Just a week later.
It's not all about. Obviously, it's not all about aesthetic and how you look. But again, as men, we can be quite vain as well. And if you see yourself looking better, that's going to give you a confidence as well. I mean, you'll be feeling better, and that's exactly what happened with Ben. And and I mean, look at him. Look at him today. He looks like a handsome Bruce Forsyth sitting there, doesn't he?
Rich, you're my favourite. You're my favourite. But another thing, like just on the back of that, Rich, as well, it's, yes, aesthetically, thanks, mate. Thank you. I'll wire you across a fiver. But it's, yes, I feel good. Aesthetically, like I feel a lot better, and that comes from within, from my soul, just the pride I've got for myself. But that doesn't mean that life is hunky dory every single day. Far from it. There are still life's hurdles. There are still predicaments one has to navigate in life. But without doubt, saying cheerio to alcohol, Jamie, has just given me like this plateau of calm in my life where if there is shit to deal with, I can deal with it. I can still feel negative emotions. I can still get upset. I can still worry. I can still have anxiety. Of course I can. But through sobriety, I haven't got that overbearing fear of doom and gloom that I can cope. I can navigate through these little tricky periods of life. And that's one of the main things that, of course, and Rich and I, we say it all the time. We don't walk around with cloaks on and halos, giving like, hey, we're the sober gurus. We're two normal guys who appreciate that life is still fucking difficult, but through our sobriety, we can just navigate and we can get through that with support and just a kind of clear mindset.
Yeah, it's true. And it what it does, it brings a bit of self-respect back to yourself as well. Like, because every mistake, every wrong decision, everything that could have gone wrong, I've done it in my life. And as Ben said, we're not, the sort of couple of monks walking around going, you should do what we do because aren't we great? Is literally, we share our stories of, because every fuck up that could have happened, we were part of that. Do you know what I mean? And it just means that now we don't have to we don't have to be deep in that mire of dealing with a hangover or a come down, as well as dealing with a problem that's come along, because as Ben said, invariably problems will come along. It's life. You don't get a free pass at life, even when you're sober. But yes, you can deal with it head on. And once you've dealt with that problem, you're not left with the anxiety of going, oh, did I make the right decision? Oh God, I feel uncomfortable. I feel anxious. Like, it just gives you a little bit of balance to be able to go, okay, this is a shit situation, but I'm doing the best I can with a clear head. Jamie, you said you took a year out. I'm interested in hearing what your experience, like, what's your relationship with sort of alcohol, and you said you took a year out. Is that just decision to see what that felt like, or how was that for you?
How's it going, man? Hope you're enjoying this episode. It's a good one, isn't it? It's really landing, right? Just give me 1 minute before we go back to the conversation. Something that Rich said earlier really stuck with me. He said the moment you start questioning your own drinking, you're probably already answering your own question. And I think that's true for so many things in men's lives, whether it's the drinking, the drift, the sense that something's off, but you can't quite name it. Most of us spend years pushing that thing down rather than facing it and actually looking at it. That's exactly why I built the Life Audit. It's a short questionnaire that I personally read and send back to you with reflections of what I'm seeing in your life, where things are working, where things aren't working, and what are the things you might need to take a closer look at. There's no fluff, there's no fixing, just honest feedback, coaching reflections from me as your coach. It's like an honest look in the mirror and a place to start, a place to build from, to build a plan from. So if today's conversation on this podcast is stirring something in you, that's good information, man. And it's worth paying attention to, because maybe this is the beginning of your reset. So if you want to download that midlife audit and get a personalized audit from me, the link is in the description. I'll get it back to you within 72 hours. Okay, enjoy the rest of the conversation. Back to you, Rich and Ben. Well, it came from I was doing some therapy with my wife, and I was sneaking around drinking. I was using alcohol to numb, to not feel the discomfort of what I was experiencing in life. I was busy. My building company was flat out. I was tired, and I found myself like you guys, like Ben just saying, in a hotel room with a can of beers. I would get some beers from the off license after finishing on a site, and park my van up somewhere and have a couple of cans and a cheeky fag, and like, oh, that's better. Fuck. So just relief and release. Like I deserved it. Narrative really strong. I deserved this beer, and then I'd go home and grab a beer straight out of the fridge so that they couldn't smell the beer on my breath. That level of like sneaking around and like, okay, I'm doing this every day now. And then in one therapy session, the therapist said, "Who would you like to start, Jamie?" I said, "I think I might be an alcoholic." And her face just dropped. and I said, she said, well, she said to me, if you don't stop, where will you be 6 months from now? I said, probably above a Ladbrokes with a bottle of whiskey, not seeing my kids.
Yeah.
She said, do you want to stop drinking? So I said, yeah, I'm going to take a year off and see what happens. And everything you're saying happened to me. My life got better instantly, cleaner. I was better sleep, all of that stuff. My eyes returned to white. My skin went better. All of it, everything that you've just said. And my friendships changed. And one of the things I wanted to bring in earlier was, I think a lot of fear around stopping, because there's so much fear around stopping drinking. For me and all the men listening to this, it's great, all your stories and anecdotes, and they're so inspiring. And there'll be a lot of men listening going, yeah, but I don't know if I can let go of it. My friendship with this crutch that I've had all my life, and my relationship with alcohol growing up as a kid. My dad used to drink. My granddad used to drink. I come from a mining town, so I grew up in working men's clubs. I said to you the other day, my grandma, I had a little mini pint pot when I was like 7, and we used to cheers, So I've grown up around beer and alcohol and parties, and my parents used to have parties every weekend till 4 o'clock in the morning. It's just normal for me. I grew up in Mansfield in the Midlands. Rough, but a beautiful place. I don't want to put it down, but alcohol, it's all about partying and drinking and all the partying in the 90s that I did. It's kind of in my DNA.
Yeah.
So it's hard to go, right, one day go, right, I'm done with that. I'm not going to do that anymore. It's like severing decades of lineage, male lineage. And then a lot of men might resonate with this part, if you've grown up around it, and it like going to football or whatever it is, it's part of the day. You see them on the train, don't you, going up to London, and there's like the carriages are full of them. I was going up to London to see Phil last week, and there were 4 tables full of men with their sons, right? They were all drinking. This is like 9:30 in the morning. They were drinking cans of Stella at 9:30 in the morning, modeling to their sons. And I don't want to judge anyone, but I'm like, I was really shocked. Like, what are these kids learning? And I learned the same. I learned a different version of that from being in working men's clubs all my life. My granddad was both my granddads like to drink. My dad can drink. So it's like it's modeled to them. this is what you do. You go football, you have some cans of beer on the train, or rugby, same thing, you know? So it's in them. So one of my questions for this podcast also is like, what are we modeling to our sons and daughters? But we're talking about men here. Like, what are we modeling to our boys? Because what we teach them now is where they'll end up when they're still drinking, still using it, having it be a best friend. Same with a spliff or whatever it is, but we're talking about alcohol. This is talking about sobriety. So I think it's complex, and there was a lot of fear for me letting go of it. I knew the alternative, like you, Rich, and Ben, you know, like, the alternative was I'd lose my family and I'd be in a fucking flat above a bookies, pissed.
Yeah.
That's where it was going. So there was like this tipping point moment. I think most people will have one, a tipping point moment where if this carries on, I am fucking screwed.
Yeah.
I have to close the door on this, even for a while. So submission and committing to a year, not just a week, a year felt substantial enough for me to step away and give my marriage a chance and my relationship with my kids, because I must have been like reading them bedtime stories, like stinking of booze and fags and that. Like, I don't want to be that dad. I don't want to be that dad. I just don't. And so, but I noticed all of my friendships changed. You know, the judgment. Oh, why are you still not drinking, mate? No, I've told you I'm not drinking. Yeah. Come on, I just have one. Just have one pint. What's that? That's another interesting thing, isn't it? What's that? What's that about?
Yeah.
You know, like you soon realize who your fucking friends are when you stop drinking.
There's a certain, I would say there will be certain friends that'll be really, really supportive, and there's also going to be the friends that go, well, oh, come on, you can just have one. Because really, you not drinking is highlighting something perhaps in them that they may need to, you know, to take a look at or address, or you know, and it's true, you know. But it was very fascinating to me when I got sober. After a while, the people that would come to me go, I've been thinking about it myself, to be honest. I probably need to like rent. And it's really interesting because people, especially you get to our age, sort of middle age, sort of 40s, 50s, and you kind of think, we could probably burn the candle for a while, like at you know, 20s, 30s, maybe even into your 40s, right? But I got to a point where like I'm approaching the big one. In a couple of years, I'll be 50, right? And I think to myself, I think about life differently now than I did 10 years ago, 15 years ago. One, because I'm sober, and also two, just because I'm older. And I think, on balance, maybe there's less in front of me than's behind me now, right? And now I'm thinking, you know, parents are getting older, you know, friends, parents getting older, and you kind of like, I want to savor all those relationships, because for all of us, time will run out eventually. Of course it will. It's how we're human. That's what happens, right? And I want to be present, and I want to be available. I want to be alive to try and salvage or harness all those kind of relationships that are so dear to me. And I think growing up, to your point, Jamie, about what we're teaching our kids is alcohol is so socially acceptable, right? And it's so normalized, you know, even on, you know, you're seeing alcohol advert on the, I mean, I think eventually alcohol advertising will be the same as smoking. I think it'll get limited. It'll be maybe watershed. And then eventually I think it will, but that's just my opinion. You know, you see an advert for Corona or for a gin, and it's sexy as fuck. It looks so cool. Like, oh, look at those guys on the beach. They're having a cheeky gin, and it's like, you know,
like
and they're
Peaky
just
Blinders.
like, they
Peaky
all look so
Blinders,
cool.
like...
And you're like, and this is the thing, and this is the similar thing as what happened with smoking. You know, you're having Brad Pitt in Fight Club with his 6-pack in his chest, and he's got a cigarette hanging out of his mouth. And you think, oh, well, that's what I want to be like. That he's so cool. I'm going to do it. Do you know what I mean? Smoking a fag, and you're like, man, there's no way you've got that body with smoking 20 cigarettes a day. But it's made cool. And I think, and that's the thing, it's so socially acceptable, alcohol, and with children in particular. They're they're visual creatures, and they're absorbing like sponges, and if that's what they're seeing as they get into even early teenage years, you know what, it's like we were all in the park at 14 trying a bottle of White Lightning or whatever, throwing it up in the, you know, on the slide or whatever. Do you know what I mean? Like, but I think the responsibility has to come from the parents to teach their children what alcohol means. Go, listen, why can't it be the same conversation that you have when you're telling them about the birds and the bees, or like how to treat your friend or whatever? It's like, look, this is what adults do, and it's because of when they're old enough to understand it. But it's important that they understand not that it needs to be limited. It can't necessarily be something that you can do to excess. And some people don't do it at all because it can be dangerous. Like, I don't know, maybe there's a world in which that could be, a conversation to have with kids. But yeah, having kids on a train whilst you're on the Stella at 11 in the morning and it's a group of you, I mean, it's a different, again, like you said, Jamie.
Well, they were soaking it up. I could see them. I could see them soaking it up. They're like, I've spoken about how we model to our young men and what they see. What's the saying? Kids will do as they see, not as you say. So they're looking for modeling. Like, how do I be a man?
Yeah.
Me and John O'Verity talked about it when we were out on that bike ride a couple of weeks back. Like how young men are going, how do I be a man?
Yeah.
Now, when we asked that question, when in the 80s, we didn't have YouTube to go and look what a man was about, or TikTok or anything. We had the men who were in our working men's clubs, or at the Villa match, on the way to the match, on the buses and stuff like that. But the kids nowadays go and they look at Andrew Tate's and whoever, and they drink that in. It's like they do have a blueprint out there to go and look at, like a manual, how to be a man. Which man do I want to be? I don't want to, I've said this before, they have that. So our responsibility as men, we are kind of approaching elder age now. Have you got kids? You got sons, daughters?
I don't have children.
I have two stepdaughters, Jamie, and I was going to say that, and my nephew Fred is 21, almost as tall as me. My goodness, he likes his greens. But that age group and the positive content that is out there on YouTube, social media, I think is really helping the younger generation, because there's less of a desire to go out and get pissed. One of my stepdaughters is at university. Fred's at university in Nottingham. And yes, they'll go and have a good time, but it's not like constant. It's not at the forefront of their thinking on every social occasion.
It's changing.
And I think that's great. And, I know that my stepdaughters will be here when they are here, and they just don't want to drink. I'm like, do you want a glass? They're just it's not even it's literally not even a thing. And when I do notice it, just on a practical point, that any chaps our age who, financially life can be tricky, can't it? But just save a bloody fortune.
Honestly, I don't think this next generation are drinking. The young kids now. I've got two girls. One's 21, the other one's 18.
Yeah.
21-year-old Ruby, she had a little period of it, but now she don't really drink. She's in surfing. She's on her way back from Mexico today. She's been in Mexico surfing for 4 months.
Oh,
she's not really drinking. She's not really into it. Jessie Ray, my youngest one, she's got hollow legs. I don't know how she does it. But she's even like, she comes around here and I go, do you want a beer? She goes, nah, I'm not bothered. Like on a Friday night. I go, sure. No, not bothered. Are you going to need Ribena? Yeah, got Ribena.
Yeah.
There's a vodka in it.
Yeah. But that Tesco weekly shop, honestly, it's like, blimey, it's so on your pocket as well, just practically. So, going sober, you'll save a lot of dosh. My goodness.
Oh, it's true. It's true. You do save money. And I mean, I shared a dressing room with a group of lads like fairly recently, and half drank, half didn't.
Really?
Some of them were very young, in their early 20s, and you're like, it's like, no, I want to get up and go to the gym tomorrow. And I'm like, that was not my experience at 21. I was like, where's the women? Where's the booze? Where's the party? Like, and that literally, and that was constant, and it's just a different mindset now, I think. But then going back to what you were saying, Jamie, about what are we teaching our kids, and what world are they going to grow up into? Are they going to have alcohol normalized? I don't remember why I was searching for the party, searching for the drink. I don't know, is it just a rite of passage because I don't remember, like my parents were separated, so I didn't really see my dad drinking or away, because he wasn't really there. He was at another living elsewhere. So I'd see him at weekends and stuff. So I wasn't drinking and partying was not normal. And my mum doesn't drink. I mean, she might have an old glass of wine at Christmas, sometimes not even then. So it was interesting for me to understand, well, what was it? It wasn't nurture for me. Like, I definitely think that my addictive habits were, I just think I'm predisposed to that. I just think it's the gene in there somewhere. And I think they call it the spiritual malady, that kind of emptiness within you that you can never fulfill. You can never find that thing that makes you feel satisfied. You're like, I'm uncomfortable. There's something not right. Like, so what is it? Oh, I'll get a girlfriend. Oh, that's not good enough now. So I'll get another girlfriend. And then and then eventually when you have access to sort of alcohol and drugs and the ultimate highs, you then go, oh, this is what the irony is that this is what relaxes me, this is what it's meant to feel like, but it isn't. That isn't what
spiritual connection almost.
Exactly,
spiritual connection to something outside of what this is. I'm experiencing this, I'm a bit bored of this. Is this all there is?
Exactly.
Drink something or snort something or take something or whatever and go, oh, fuck, this is different. It's like the blinkers go like,
and all you want to do,
and then it stays.
You just want more of it. You just want more and more and more of it, because you get to a point where you're uncomfortable. You can't sit with yourself. You're uncomfortable being you without that.
And the irony is that the more you do it, the more anxious it makes you. So you chase it. It more.
Yeah.
So then you need more. Yeah. Alcohol. Alcohol. Who was it? Said the guy from Jackass said, I can't drink anymore because my drink bone's connected to my coke bone. My coke bone's connected to my heroin bone.
Yeah.
And that really landed on me. I thought, that's a really good metaphor. Because if all your other things are connected to that first thing, then you have to stop that first thing. So if your drink bone's connected to your cigarette bone, your cigarette bone's connected, and so on. I mean, he caned it. Like, how is that guy still not? How is he not dead? Same with Keith Richards. But there are people that can do it, but I don't think they're happy within it. When we're comparing what that looks like, pissed all the time and anxious, to what we're talking about, sobriety or periods of sobriety. It doesn't have to be full sobriety. There are people who can rein it in and do that, and some people can't. There's different spectrums. We're all wired completely differently, aren't we? And I noticed that I've got a different relationship with it now, that I can understand. When I go to the fridge to get a beer, I ask myself, do I want this beer or do I need this beer?
Yeah.
That's the little trigger.
Yeah. And what is interesting... Yeah, and I think
I'm less going, I don't want it or need it, actually.
I'm
getting closer and closer to maybe not full sobriety, but I think one day I will, because I just go, I'm bored of that. It's same with smoking. I went, I'm done with that, bored of that, and all the other stuff that I used to get involved in. I just go, I'm bored of that now. I don't want to do that.
And also, older. Like, who wants, as we do get older, Jamie, who wants to wake up feeling crap? Like, as Rich said, we're pushing on in life. Life flies. Life fucking flies. And the difference I've found since being sober, like I want to be with my family. I want to be the best husband. I want to be the best stepdad. I want to be the best son. And the joy I'm getting from my family being sober, like being present at family dues. Like, it was Fred's 21st in April. Just the joy of being able to, like, in the middle of a busy week, say, I'll be there and be there. Drive there and back, smash and
driving,
grab. Yeah, driving, but also not turning up rancid with that awful blood-fizzing hangover, red bloodshot eyes from a busy night of drinking the night before. And we've said it on the pod as well. I used to go to family dues, Jamie, in the Midlands. I'm from Birmingham, as I said, and just wanting to... Just all I could think of was, when can I get back to New Street Station, to that sordid little pub, just for a Sunday tea time pint?
Yeah.
Like, how awful! What a waste of family time! How had I become that person who had an amazing family, who was so supportive and loving? Yet I would get pissed the night before, knowing full well I had a family do on the Sunday, say, if I was touring, then once I was there, just thinking, oh, it's really nice to see everybody, but what time can I get to New Street for that station pint?
Yeah.
You know, we just being present there for family on family occasions, that's huge as well. You know, not being at someone's birthday party you love, feeling rancid and, you know, trying to force down a pineapple and cheese on a cocktail stick. It's like, bring on the food. I'm feeling good. You know, the difference is brilliant.
I'd really like, before we wrap up, to do some bits around, you know, men who are listening to this, and me too. Like, what's some of the things that we can help men go away and practically do something? So for the man who's listening, who doesn't think he has a drinking problem but knows alcohol's costing him something, where does he start? Like, where do you start?
Just take it, as Rich will say time and time again, it is just a day at a time. And I guarantee that feeling when you've got into bed after a sober day under your 50 tog of just peace and calm, thinking, I'm getting there. And don't be fearful. Like Rich and I, we're not bullshitters. We genuinely feel bloody happy. And I would say to listeners and viewers who are worried, think, have I got a problem? Like, you can get there. It won't happen overnight, but just these small little tiny steps. I would literally start, instead of a 10-minute phone scroll in the morning, just go for a walk, 10 minutes. 10 minutes, have a coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true. Exercise is definitely important. And yeah, just to echo what Ben said as well, I would say if someone's considering sobriety or thinking there's a problem that they might need to address, or someone's questioning, do I have a drink problem because I'm doing this too much? I think you're already answering your own question at that point. If you're questioning yourself, going, I think this might be turning into something that is not controllable for me, or something I need to rein in, you're probably already answering your own question. And I would say that set yourself a little target and say, right, it's a bank holiday, because as we say, there will always be an excuse. People will always say, oh yeah, but I've got my brother's wedding coming up, or it's Christmas, or it's New Year. Oh, I'll do it after that. There is always going to be an event, a barbecue or something. But say, for example, we're recording this just before the bank holiday weekend. You could set yourself a target. I'm not going to drink just on that bank holiday Monday. So you get to that Monday and just keep it in the day. Just keep it in that day to go, I'm going to get through it. Because if you project too far in the future, you'll fail. You don't need to worry about Christmas or weddings.
Yeah.
Keep it in the day and just see if you can not drink for that day, and see how that makes you feel. And then when you wake up the next day, you go, I feel good for not drinking that day. Oh, that's great. It's now Tuesday, I'm back at work and it's fine. But if you're if you're a heavy drinker and it's really intrinsic within your DNA and your lifestyle, and you really think that something needs to change drastically, there is a lot of help out there. The fellowships, AA, CA, NA, all those kind of fellowships. On the podcast we do on Rich and Ben, the Sober Men, the podcast, we do a whole episode on the 12 steps and what those 12 steps are, because there's a lot of misconception and myth busting that happens on that episode, because that help is available and it's free, right? And if people need it, it's available for them. But a lot of people, especially men, get put off because they go, oh, it's a religious cult, it's this, it is none of those things. It's literally a framework and a community to help you get and stay sober. That's what it does. So I'm a big advocate of that. I come from that side of the fence. Ben comes from like the apps and the tracking. That's another good thing that you can do as well. Like, Ben, you have your sober app. You can track it, make it into a game.
Yeah, just a little
stuff.
I Am Sober app. It's just a little visual kind of pat on the back, like, oh, it's another day. I'm doing all right here. This is good. And you'll see it grow and grow. And it's just like, yeah, we can do this. And another thing that helps me, I don't know if this is weird or not, I don't actually care, to be honest, but I often harness just how shit I used to feel. It's almost like I have a little pocket in my head of the hurt that I caused myself through drinking, the shame, the self-pity, the anxiety that the contrast to how I feel now through not drinking is just off the charts. And it's almost like if I'm having a tough day or a tough moment during a day, I just prick into that and think, God, I've come so far. I've come so far. And it gives you such a lovely little feeling of happiness that nothing can ever get that bad. And it again, it's just another little pat on the back, which is that it's doable. Like happiness is there, it's doable.
It's true. And I think the most important thing, the suggestion, as we always say on our podcast, we don't tell anyone what to do ever. It's far beyond us. You know, we're not there to tell people what to do, but to suggest. And what we did, talk to someone. Just talk to someone. Open your mouth and say to someone, I'm thinking of this. I feel like this. I think I might need some help with this. And just, it takes the power out of it, because when you, as men, as we said, we sit in our own heads and we don't get it out enough. The minute you articulate that and you speak to someone, that is key, because the minute you do that, it makes it real. Then you've got, it makes it a tangible thing, that it's a conversation piece that you can have with someone else. And then you've got that person then to check in on you, go, how you feeling? Are you doing all right? And that person as well might go, I've seen this online. Maybe you should try doing this, or you should try doing that. But I would say, talk to someone, take the power out of it, search avenues of community support groups, things like AA, if you feel you need to go down that route. If you feel that you necessarily don't have quote unquote, a problem with it, but you just want to cut back and be a bit more sensible, you can try apps, make it into a game, but keep it in the day. Just keep it in that one day. Don't worry about tomorrow. Just go, today, I'm not going to have a drink. And that's it. That's all you got to do, is get to the end of it. And it's not easy. Listen, far be it for me to say it's an easy, just do this. It's difficult. It can be difficult.
Because a lot of people might be thinking, it's easy for you to say. I used to get that, like, it's easy for you to stop drinking. Oh, it's not easy for me to stop drinking at all. I just made a decision. But another thing is Naked Mind. I did the Naked Mind podcast, Naked Mind 30-day alcohol. It's called the Alcohol Experiment.
Oh, okay.
Really good. You should maybe look at it for your podcast as well to talk about it. This woman in America, she was drinking a couple of bottles. She was just a mum at home, and she was just drinking a couple of bottles of wine, and she just decided, I've had enough. It's like $39 for the month, and you be part of a Facebook group. It's really big now, massive.
Okay.
And it's an experiment, and it's sold in such a way that it's an experiment. This is not here to help you stop drinking. It's here to help you with your relationship with alcohol. It's where I started with my sobriety for that year. And there's a different coach on the Facebook group every single day, a live feed from a coach who's navigated sobriety. They look at brain science, how we chase the alcohol. They look at your relationship with alcohol as a growing up, like we've talked about. I learned so much in a month. It's gold dust. And I send it to some of my clients, my coaching clients. If they open up to me about drinking, I point them in the direction to do that. And they've all gone away and done it and messaged me and said, yeah, it's great. I learned so much from it. And then at the end of that 30 days, you can either go back to drinking or whatever, So there are simple ways to experiment with, it doesn't have to be pachonga, I am never going to drink again. You just dip your toe in, right? It's just like, day by day.
And also if you do embark on sobriety or just experimenting, like you said, Jamie, be fucking proud. Because as Rich said, it's difficult. No, you're allowed in life to champion yourself. You're allowed to enthuse about how good you're feeling. Don't be shameful. Don't hide it away. I love sharing that. I'm alcohol free. I'm really proud. And I think in this country, we're very quick to poo-poo away from anybody enthusing about how good they're feeling. But why are we like that? That's another talking point. Just be very proud of that. I'm giving this a go. I'm going to give this a go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I use this metaphor with my clients. Like, what's the milk you keep pouring into your margarita? So imagine your life is this beautiful, is the irony in cocktail, but this beautiful thing that you've spent ages making. Like, what's the milk that you keep pouring into it to fuck it up so that you can't drink it anymore? Is it
Yeah.
alcohol? Is it porn? Is it whatever it is?
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
alcohol
yeah.
is that thing that basically what you're doing is you're just pouring milk into your
Yeah.
beautiful thing that is life, that we, 7 trillion to 1 chance that we're even here.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and if you get to 40 or 50 or whatever midlife, like how many, do you want the next 10 years or 20 years or 30 years of your life to just carry on like that? That's the question for me. It's even bigger than sobriety or
Yeah.
addiction for me. It's like, well, how do I want the next 10 years of my life to look? If I've got to 50 like I have and partied fucking hard, I've had a great
Yeah.
time. But do I want my 50s to look like my 40s? Getting pissed up and partying and, all that? Probably not, no.
Yeah.
And
Well,
it's so easy to just repeat it because I'll be 60 before I know it and then go, shit,
Yeah.
why didn't I do
That's
something
it.
about that? Because we do
Well,
this
that's the
thing where
thing.
we ask our future self, what does your future self say? What would your future self thank you for tomorrow?
It's interesting. It's interesting. And also, you get to a point where you're thinking about your health as well. If you're looking at your next 10 years of your life, it's your health that's going to suffer. And you can party hard for 10, 20, 30 years. But if you carry that on, that's when you're going to start having the problems in your late 50s and your 60s. And who knows, you might not make your 70s
No.
if one does carry on, in that vein. But it is, to your point about men might be saying, oh, well, it's easy for you to say. It is easy for us to say now, but it
Right.
wasn't easy for us to say then. And the reason why we can enthuse and we are so positive about living a life in sobriety is because our brain is like, thank Christ that we managed to eradicate that from our life, right? But that doesn't mean to say that it was easy when we were in it, because I think you're never going to have a podcast or a YouTube video or a TV show where you're just going to have a load of alcoholics and addicts in active addiction trying to tell you about their life and how to live it, because it's not possible, because it would be too disruptive for them. It would be too traumatic for people to watch. But the only way you can do that is to go through that and come out the other side and then talk about your experience. And I know it's easy. You know what it's like? It's easy when someone suddenly got themselves into shape and they've got great pecs and a six pack and my biceps, and you go, and they go, yeah, eat this, do this. And you go, yeah, it's all right for you. You look like that. and they go, yeah, but I didn't look like this. I spent 6 months in the gym and eating my broccoli and chicken and all that kind of stuff. It just takes time and maybe
discipline is hard.
Discipline is hard. And I think maybe we do live, especially now, we live in an era where everything is just so instant. And it's like, well, we got 10 seconds of attention span and then we scrolled onto something else instead of going, I'm going to knock it down and this is going to take a bit of time. And listen, again, I'm guilty of that too. I get bored, I'll see something on, I'm bored of that and scroll on to the next one. It's easily done. And I think with sobriety or, a healthier lifestyle, cutting back on the booze, not drinking at all those journeys, it just takes a little bit of patience and a little bit of commitment and a little bit of application, and you'll start to see the benefits, but not within one day. What you will do in one day is be proud of yourself. I didn't drink today, and just keep it in that day. And that day will turn into 2, into a week, into a month, and before you know it, you're at the other side. But that being said, me and Ben also still work very hard to maintain that sobriety. I personally still do meetings. I do a gratitude list and things I'm grateful for, as cheesy or as corny as that sounds. That helps me. And I talk to other addicts, alcoholics as well. Podcasts like your one, Jamie, as well, because that keeps the framework of my life, the foundation of what keeps me balanced and keeps me able to move forward productively is that foundation of sobriety. And it is possible for anyone, whether you just want to cut back, whether you want to stop completely, it's all available. And I will sign out by saying I was fucked. I was completely fucked. I didn't want to live, thought I was going to die, and I managed to find my way out of it. And that's why I'm so positive about it now. So I enthuse anyone that wants to go on that journey. We're available. Our podcast is available. Yours is too. There's avenues of conversation you can have.
Yeah.
Sorry, I've spoken a lot there. I do apologize.
Thank you, man. That lands very much, and men will be feeling that in their hearts. Yeah, appreciate that.
And I would say, just think about my life margarita, Jamie, that you mentioned there. It would have been in the world's biggest vat you've seen, full of pint after pint, not of milk, but of lager. And when I think what I poured into that over the years and how low it made me feel, how I remember, Rich knows this, packing a rucksack, and I used to live on the Kent coast, just thinking, I'm done. I'm going for a walk, like a walk where I don't want to come back.
Right.
2, rediscovering myself in my sobriety, rediscovering my happiness. And that what makes me smile now, day after day, even on tough days, that my gratitude for a calm morning, a little morning walk, my lovely morning coffee. That's why I smile so much, that listeners and viewers of your pod, that if you're struggling, that there's 100% a way forward. It's not easy, but if you want it, if you want to be a happier person, which we all do ultimately, then just give it a go. Just try, because it's ultimately it is so worth it.
What a great way to finish. And there are, like, and I've not mentioned Andy's Man Club is a great circle. Like, if you want to talk about what you're going through, and all us men need is safety and permission to talk about what we're going through. They're the two things I believe for us to evolve as men and to feel like we can get somewhere is that. And Andy's Man Club is a completely safe space. Over 370 groups now across the UK. So if you want to go and talk about your sobriety or your struggle with beer and alcohol or whatever, that's a brilliant place to go. Go and find your nearest Andy's Man Club or talking space, or join a men's group in some way so that you're not alone. You said it, Rich. Don't try and do this on your own. Do not try and don't think for 1 minute that you can face addiction by yourself. I've tried it many times. And as soon as I put that down and asked for help and surrendered, the universe kept catching me time after time after time. I call it God, call it whatever you want. As soon as I went, fall back, the universe caught me. I went, right, you need to talk to this guy. And then this guy would message me. Same with this stuff, like TikTok and all that. You step into something that in your fucking heart that it has to be a yes. And as soon as you say yes to that thing, the universe or God or whatever you want to call it will just keep throwing stuff your way. And until you do that, it won't. You'll just stay exactly where you are.
Exactly. It takes a bit of action. It does. You'd have to put in a little bit of effort, a bit of action. If you want it, this is the thing. It's with anything. If you really want it, you'll seek it out and you'll commit to it, and that's what's important. If you're just doing it for someone else, or if you're doing, if your wife says you need to cut down and you don't really want to, don't do it, because it's pointless. Because you're not. It's not going to happen for you. But if you want it, it's available to you. It really is. And like I said, Andy's Man Club, fellowships always available, men's groups, and also podcasts, online research, all that. It's all available. Even ChatGPT. I read a story about someone getting sober through using ChatGPT, logging stuff, searching stuff. You can have a conversation with that ChatGPT. Ask it the questions that you want answering, and it will help you and point you in the right direction as well. All that kind of stuff is available.
Yeah, amazing. Guys, this has been such a rich conversation. I'm not even going to edit any of it. I'm just going to put the whole thing out. It's such a rich conversation. Rich and Ben, thank you so much. And I hope everybody who's listening to this will take something from this. This has not been a preach. This has just been a curious conversation. If you please share this with someone else, share this to 5 of your mates. Share it, spread it around. We all need to have this conversation and other ones that are hot potatoes, Share this conversation around. Give this podcast a subscribe. These guys have got their own podcast. Tell them quickly what it is. Not quickly, take as long as you want. What am I on about?
Yeah.
Okay, Chris Evans.
Yeah, give us a listen. It's Rich and Ben, the Sober Men, the podcast. You can obviously find it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and on YouTube. And you can find us on TikTok and on Instagram at the Sober Men Pod. And please join us for more conversations like this, important things that need to be discussed.
Absolutely. Ben, final word?
Up the villa.
The villa!
Up the villa.
Nice
Thanks
one, guys.
so much, Jamie.
A
Cheers,
pleasure.
Jamie.
mate.
Really
Thank
enjoyed
you.
it. All right. Cheers. So that's another episode of Safe Harbour. Thank you so much for being here and listening in on this amazing conversation. And if you enjoyed today's show, give us a follow, give us a like, and share this with another man who you think might need to have this conversation. Another new guest next time. Tune in. Have a great day, man. And remember, you are amazing, right?